Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We start the first session of the day. The topic is Urban Planning and Architecture for Smart Cities. For this, we have our moderator, Mr. Ashish Sachdeva, who is founder president, Green Dream Foundation. Ashish is the founder president of Green Dream Foundation, a new age NGO based in New Delhi. Before committing himself completely to the service of the planet and people, he also worked in customer success leadership positions across different multinational corporations for over a decade. His mission has been to create an educational and socially responsible advocacy platform for people to empower and engage their peers in environmental activities to ensure a healthier, cleaner, and more sustainable planet for business, customers, employees, homeowners, and families. As a young person, he realized that not knowing how to get things done was restricting young people from taking the plunge and standing up for issues they felt deeply about. He felt a strong urge to develop a platform for young people across the world to synchronize their approach towards addressing these issues. His will to fight for the odds against the environment sowed the seeds of the foundation, Green Dream Foundation, and was founded in 2008. Now, may I request him to take over the session? He'll be conducting the session. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So we're still, gathering a lot of folks in the room. I'm hoping it'll fill in, but we wanted to start on time because then it gets difficult to catch up during the day. And being the first session of the day, it was great to see everyone on time, on the dais for sure. And now we're hoping for everyone else to turn up as well. So before we get into the details of the first session of today, the theme of the track, like you know, is smart cities. The question comes because some of you maybe here, who's been working in the smart cities domain for the longest amount of time. Some of you may be new to this concept. So my question to people generally is, what exactly is the definition of smart cities? Because yes, definitely it sounds smart, it sounds great. It in fact is the buzzword in the town, especially when you talk about urbanism these days. Smart cities is definitely is the buzzword. But a lot of times we miss on the basics, similar to a lot of other concepts related to urban development. You talk about a smart city, like would you call a city like a Delhi or a Bangalore or Chandigarh a smart city? Do you think these cities were planned to handle the amount of population and the stress they're taking today? People who have come and driven to the event would know that because it's completely misplanned. So it's not just about planning new cities. The architecture has to play a very important role in also retrofitting the existing cities that we have. And I think that's what we were just discussing prior to this session, that retrofitting is one of the most important things that have to be kept in mind because most of our cities have been planned decades ago in a, you can say, unsustainable, or maybe they couldn't really foresee the amount of stress coming way. And maybe we can't just foresee the next 50 years as well, but we got to start planning for it and executing it well. And a lot of times it's important to mention that smart cities won't happen without smart citizens and smart architecture really. And for that we need smart architects, smart planners. So all of that we have on the dais. I have a great panel on my side. We'll quickly start off because we're already running 15 minutes late. I'll request Mr. K. Suresh, who's the Business Development Director, Towers and Telecom, Ramboll, for an industry address. And from there, we'll move on to the individual presentation.
Good morning. I know today is election results day, but the smart city, the movement will continue. We are hoping so. So I am from Ramboll, and Ramboll is basically Denmark-based company. And then we are doing a lot of different kind of disciplinary services for different countries. We are basically more focused in Nordic countries. We have a small video, if you can run.
The world is facing new challenges. The world's population is growing rapidly. We are living longer and wealthier lives. And most of us live in urban areas. This creates challenges such as heavy pollution, higher carbon emissions, congestion, and resource scarcity. Nature, human health, and even quality of life are under pressure. However, for every problem, there is a long-term solution. As a global engineering consultancy, Ramboll helps develop balanced and sustainable solutions for the public sector and private businesses. At Ramboll, we provide consultancy services based on expertise from across the world, combined with strong local insights. In our approach, a global mind...
I think there is some, I don't know, I opened this laptop, probably that may be the reason. So get into the presentation, that's fine.
The world is facing new challenges to our customers in realizing projects, from urban livability to environmental challenges around the world. From the very beginning in 1945, Ramboll's founders instilled in us our strong ethical and human beliefs that are still valid today. Our technically advanced solutions are founded on a deep understanding of our customers and the people and societies they serve. This human touch shapes our unique approach to engineering and consultancy. Ramboll provides consultancy services within buildings, transport, planning and urban design, water, environment and health, energy, oil and gas, and management consulting. We draw on the synergies between our disciplines to create innovative solutions. We approach every project with commitment to deliver inspiring solutions that support sustainable societies. Passionate employees and responsibility towards society remain the cornerstones of our approach to business. Our foundation ownership ensures a long-term perspective on the future development of our company and the society we are part of.
We create strong relationships with the world around us, and we work hard to understand our customers' ultimate goal. We strive to find solutions that add value, not only for our customers, but really for society in large, by finding solutions that enable a sustainable development.
Yeah, we have reduced the video size, so anyway, I'll just get into a quick presentation. So Ramboll in brief is basically, we are a Danish-based company, and then we are present in, 300 countries and 35 countries, and then more than 300 offices we have. And, we have 15,000 experts worldwide, and in India, more than 900 people. And then we believe in knowledge sharing, and we don't have any assets other than the people. So we have different qualified people within Ramboll, and then serving in different fields. And we don't have any owner, so the Ramboll works in a foundation. We are quite present in different countries. In India, we are, basically Hyderabad is one of the hub for Telecom office. And then we have a Delhi, Gurgaon office is basically where we have a Ramboll engineering services and other, transport and building team sitting here. And, if you look at a full range of services, basically we have a telecom and energy and buildings, transport and, environmental and health and planning and urban development, water, oil and gas and management consultancy. So this is how the geographical footprint of Ramboll presents worldwide. So our approach is basically, I will not go through a lot of the presentations, but I come from a telecom background. Basically, when we look at a telecom and connecting to the smart cities, basically telecom is one of the, we feel that telecom is a backbone for a smart city. Without data, you cannot do anything. So we are basically pioneer in telecom in India, and a lot of services what we offer into the clients, and 95% is market we are already captured in India. Other than India, we are also supplying to different countries like neighbor countries, and then Denmark is basically also into somewhere telecom. But telecom is small business, but we know that telecom going forward after 4G and 5G. When it comes to smart city, when you link it, basically, if you look at a lot of street furniture, what you have right now, they are not enough to cater the new technology. So that is where Ramboll comes into the picture, and then how the city can be changed, and how it can be converted into a smart street than having a normal street poles or other normal stuff. I'll just jump to because we can have more time for, group discussion. Yeah. So we launched, a smart city mission in 2015, and we moved a little, but but in a scattered manner. So if you look at the smart city mission versus what actually deployed, there is a completely gap, because we have been talking about smart. You can see a lot of conferences happening, and then a lot of news coming with a smart. But actually, if you look at how the deployment happened versus what is the mission made by the government, there is a huge gap. So, for example, since I come from Telecom, so I will give an example of Telecom only. If you look at, street poles on the dividers, earlier there was some kind of lamps, and then now we are converting it to LED. So we say that, now we have converted everything into smart. So it's not exactly what is supposed to be. If you look at the funny cyclone in Orissa, there is completely disaster happened. We are not looking at disaster management, because of, whatever the infrastructure you are making as a temporary basis with the lack of knowledge, if it is not going to sustain for longer time, it has no value. So we have to look at, how our infrastructure can be sustained for, beyond 20 years. That's what we have to look at. If we getting into, today I changed some structure and then I made some kind of better roads, but if they are not useful for next generation, it has no value. So this is, basically, if you look at, the mission where we are talking about area-based development and then pan-city development. So, I'm not going to talk about area-based development because it is not happening in a big way. But if you look at the pan-city developments, basically, like, if you look at 20 cities where there is a little momentum about smart activities there, but we have not reached to the milestone what we are looking at. So where Ramboll comes into picture, where, if we get in a street or, one city, convert, of course, we cannot say that, our cities are not smart, but I think we need more smart. So Ramboll can do a survey, and we can come with, a complete change of how the city can look different compared to what we have right now. So, how the, this is just an infography, how we can convert smart into more smart. So basically, if you look at the streets right now, we are talking about, energy efficiency, and then, renewable energy. But, are we really using it? So that's something, when we do a survey, we talk about telecom, where the network is lacking, where you need a EV chargers, where you need a smart parking, where you need a smart bus stops. So this is where Ramboll can do a complete survey and then come back with some kind of solution, and then give a draft version to version for review, and then we can fine it further. So this is, we took some picture from our office in Hyderabad. If you look at this picture, the left picture where, you have a lot of traffic, and then you have, it's not organized. If we think of, we could make this, in a day, how it can be changed, how can we change this look to smart look? So where you have, better roads, and then you have better smart poles with kind of, multi-utility poles, and you have a parking, and, you have a solar tree. How we can convert our roof into solar? How can we add, use the high-rise buildings into adding wind turbines? So this is where, this is what we are talking about smart. So, we have not reached to that level, but I'm sure we will, going forward with a lot of lesson learned, we will be able to, change our country into more smart, and then we should become more, example, in other countries where, it is not right now, but I'm sure maybe in 5-10 years' time, we will be called as a, a lot of people will be talking about India as one of the example. So I'm just finishing this presentation so that, we have other people have more time to talk about. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Suresh. And, while I was looking at the last comparison of pictures that you put in, I was reminded of Cyber City somehow. There's Cyber City in Gurgaon here. 10 years ago, it was a very similar situation. But again, so a lot of infrastructure planning was done, things were fixed, traffic management was done. But again, as a citizen, as a local citizen, I realized that it's still not planned for maybe next 10, 15 years. And that's the point we come back to again and again. Are we planning things the way, so they're planned for next 1 or 2 generations, or are we just doing it, 5-year plan at a time?
Yeah, I think, if you look at, we have come up with the metro stations, very well. It's running very well, even Hyderabad also. So what lessons we learned in Hyderabad also that, metro to metro, it is definitely, you have a better control. You can, train reaches in seconds, difference. But how you are going to reach to your, the metro station, that's something is a concern. You have a lot of cars and then you don't want to come out from your home by a bicycle or any motorbike. You wanted to use a car. And then where is the car parking? So how, these are basically what we have to learn. And then make sure that, whenever we are talking about, we have a smart mobility in place and then smart technology in place, and then we are still struggling for telecom network. So this is something which needs a lot of focus. I think we are, in a right position, but, I think we need to fine tune, and then instead of we getting into scattered manner, we learn some lessons and then have more focused and then improve the technology.
Definitely. Yeah, thank you so much. What we have also seen is, I think good governance is also very much needed when we are trying to drive initiatives like these, because while all of us individually have done a lot of work in this domain, I think it's also important because to give an example, reflecting upon what Mr. Suresh said, take an example of Singapore. You cannot buy a car until you have a proof for a parking for it. Here in one household, you'll find 3, 4, 5 cars when you don't even have space to park. And you may even have space to park, but the city may not be ready to handle those cars on the road. So I think we'll bring up those topics as we proceed during the day. But without taking much time, I'll request Professor Dr. P.S.N. Rao, who's the Director, School of Planning and Architecture, he's also the Chairman, Delhi Urban Art Commission, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, Government of India. I would request him to set the tone for the session before we move on to our individual panelists, as to if you would like us to focus on certain topics, because we have limited time. So what are the key topics you want us to reflect upon, and what would be the format from here?
Thank you, Ashish, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad that the numbers are increasing. We have a good number of people here in the audience. So the topic that we want to discuss this morning is smart cities, urban planning and architecture for smart cities. Well, I think being the chair, let me grab a couple of minutes before I hand over to my learned speakers. We have about 7 of them here, and they're all doing a lot of good work in various areas of their domain specialization. But before we get into that, let me say a couple of things. What we have here in terms of a session focus, governing the urban, it's very important that whenever you look at a city, governance becomes very important. Somebody has to have the stick and say that, look, this is what can be done, this is what is not to be done, and so on. Cities are very huge in size, large number of people, very diverse backgrounds, and therefore, unless and until we have a proper governance mechanism in place. Just now, Sachdeva gave us the example of Singapore. You can do this and you can't do this. Regulation is very, very important. Unless somebody has a stick in the hand and says that, look, you can't park here, you can't, if you build like this, then it's going to be demolished and so on. You can't unauthorizedly do certain things, they will be demolished. So unless and until you have a strong regulation, unless you have a governance system which is effective in place, you can't really have a smart city. So that is one hypothesis that we begin with. Exploring social identity and culture. I think Indian culture is very, very important. We brag a lot about our history, about our culture and so on. But then if you ask a typical man on the street what is being smart, then probably the Indian way of looking smart is probably a jugadu is what we say is smart. What is the smartest way to travel from point A to point B is to travel on the footboard of a bus without a ticket, is probably the smartest way of doing the thing. So, we have our own definitions of what smart is all about. Of course, smart is a global word, smart is a smart word, smart is the in word today, and smart is also the government word. We want everything to be smart. Yes, Indians traditionally have been very smart. Indians traditionally have been very eco-sensitive and very resource minimal in terms of, I mean, we make the maximum out of the minimum. We use cow dung cakes to heat our water in the morning and so on. But we've left all those things, and then we've come into the so-called smart system of using a hot water geyser, XYZ. So there are so many such areas we need to look at. Infrastructure in the urban region is very important. Everybody wants to come to the city because the city has it all. And as you go down to the suburbs, there's nothing out there. So we all want to be in the middle of the city. It's probably exactly the other way around in many other parts of the world, because the small towns in the surrounding areas, in the peri-urban areas, in the region, they are very well connected by fast mass transport. So there's excellent mobility. You can live in a small town in the suburb, but then you can take a very fast train and you can come to your place of work and then you can go back again. Unfortunately, we can't really do that. So land use and planning becomes very important in that larger context. Global perspectives on urban transformations. I think, yes, we do have some people who come from the other parts of the world. They're here with us on the panel. We'll hear more from them on the global perspective, because there are large number of cities across the world where they've been able to achieve a lot. And is there something that we can learn from them? Yes, certainly there is. As a person who's traveled to most parts of the world, I'm sure all of you have also been to various parts of the world. And there are many lessons that we can learn from them in terms of high technology, data, and so on and so forth. Without data, you can't really do management. Any kind of management needs data. So therefore, that is very important. Knowledge-based economies, innovation networks, and so on. Livelihoods is a very important area. Livelihoods, urban economy, and migration. I think in Indian cities, more than anywhere else in the developing part of the world, it is extremely important for us to see as to who are the citizens who are living in our cities. If you look at, let's say, Delhi, a broad ballpark figure of the population today as we talk here, 2019, is about 2 crores. And out of these 2 crores, almost a crore, almost 50% or maybe slightly more than 50% of the population actually lives in juggi jhompadis and unauthorized colonies and so on, where their incomes are very, very less. Their livelihoods are more in the informal sector, and so on and so forth. So how do you really make these? Someone said just now, smart cities need smart citizens. But then these more than 50% of the population is struggling to make 2 ends meet just to have one good meal a day for the self and for the family. So how do you expect the city to become smart in this kind of a situation? Slum redevelopment, yes, we have a very large number of cities. The official figure of slums in Mumbai is 55%. So more than 50%, 55% is the slum population of Mumbai. Delhi is no different. So therefore, how do you do the slum redevelopment? And we all know the case of the Katputli colony and so on, which has been in the papers for a very long time. Dharavi is also in the papers in Mumbai. So mass housing, we have the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana that's happening. Smart way to live is not to live under the flyover or on the footpath, but then to live in a nice, beautiful house. But then how many of us can actually afford that? And are we really making those low-cost houses, or are we making those very, very expensive houses which are all lying vacant? 10% of the total is actually vacant. The census of India 2011 gives a very, very high vacancy rate for residential apartments in the national capital region, Delhi and Noida and Gurgaon and all that put together. So therefore, to make our urban agglomerations smart, I'm using the word urban agglomeration because it's not just the city, but it's the city and the surrounding regions, the small towns, the urban villages, the surrounding villages, and so on and so forth. So what kind of architecture we need, what kind of urban planning measures are required, what kind of new technologies that we need to bring in. I think these are all extremely important areas. We've started this Smart Cities initiative as an initiative of the Government of India about 4 years back, and there was an elaborate system of smart readiness that brought into the selection of these. These 100 smart cities were not selected on some kind of a political criteria. There were a series of parameters that were taken into account, and only those cities who volunteered and who could actually prove based on certain indicators that yes, we can take this upon ourselves. Only those had volunteered and they got selected and they came into this whole smart city initiative, and they are in various stages of implementation. They are of course facing several problems and several hiccups in trying to put technology together and make things work. So with these opening comments, I think I should now hand over to the speakers. I think I will go by the order that you have printed here. Anil Kumar Bansal from IPE Global Limited. IPE is Infrastructure Professionals Enterprise. This is a consultancy company, and Anil Bansal is a director there, and he has worked on over 50 assignments in the areas of urban reforms, infrastructure policies, and so on and so forth. He has also worked on slum rehabilitation, public-private partnerships. There's a very long paragraph that's written here, but I'm just trying to pick up some keywords. He's also worked on projects that have been funded by the ADB and so on and so forth. So I think we have, DFID, JICA, World Bank, and so on and so forth. And I think he's also certified solid waste management specialist. So over to Anil Kumar Bansal. We have 7 speakers and we have about maybe 40 minutes. So how do we do it? 7 multiplied by
I think
7.
4 to 5 minutes each.
Okay, 7 5s are 35. So 5 minutes each. I've taken my 5. So
thank you so much, sir. I think by the time now, I think we are seeing that the results is there, and I'm not making a political statement, but maybe people who believe that smart cities are working and can work, probably they'll be happy today. As we are saying, Smart Cities initiative, it was taken 4 years back. And the most important thing which I always say that in the smart cities, the planning process was really good. Especially the smart city proposals in a competitive manner, all the 100 smart cities, and as sir said, whoever wanted to participate, those cities came forward. And those cities really prepared the good proposals, and with the consultation of the communities, stakeholders, and like everybody in the city actually participated, and I actually wanted to see that what they want in their cities. And smart city proposal, that is why there was at least the maximum ownership and accountability and the community involvement in the entire process. And I always say this also, that in this entire process, the tier 2 and tier 3 cities are the main gainers. In fact, if you see that 1,000 crore for any larger cities, any metropolis is not such a big amount. But I've been working in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, and if you see their municipal budgets, this is really, really a good amount for them. And if you think that 1,000 crore pumping into the urban infrastructure, in these cities, it can make really a lot of difference. So that is why first time I think these tier 2, 3 cities, when they prepared the smart city proposals, they came up with some 100, 120 proposals. Some of them were very, very innovative. And these are the projects which they wanted to do since last some years and years together. And if the smart city funding is not available, I'm sure that these kind of projects they will never be able to take up. So you can take an example. We have a very good project on interlinking of the lakes. The small lakes are available in Tumkuru, which is a very dry city, which is not having the very heavy rainfall. So they have a very good now interlinking of the all the lakes they have done. So now those lakes are getting revitalized. So that is helping them. Take an example of Jabalpur. There is one Omti Nala they have, which was like a covered drain right in the center of the city. And they were really wanted to do something about that. Now what in the smart cities, they have made this NMT corridor. So there are good pedestrian paths over there, and they have the greenery. So now this is coming up right in the center. This is coming up as a very good green space which people are able to use, people are able to utilize and make effective use of it, while it is actually giving the aesthetic value to the cities. And another thing which has happened especially for the smaller cities, like now a pool of consultants, which these cities can never actually access and never can really think of having. Now they have a 30, 40, 50 people working with them day in and day out. They are there, we have a good architect, planners and engineers working with them, which they can never afford. So now these cities are able to make good use of these resources, and in the turn they also develop the capacities, because the SPVs have been formed There are people in the SPVs. Of course, most of the people from the municipal corporations have also been brought into the SPVs. So these SPVs can really building their capacities in the entire process after 4-5 years. If they can take up these projects forward on their own efforts, that will be really good. And if these SPVs have been created for interdepartmental coordination also, because most of these projects are actually needing a lot of interdepartmental coordination which is required. So that is what these SPVs are able to do it. Of course, there are some challenges also when we are doing a lot of different type of projects, because there are a lot of stakeholders involved, a lot of these departments are required to be coordinate for implementing these projects. So there are challenges around that. And in fact, if, in terms of the sharing and the information sharing, there's a platform available. You have a very good dashboard available at the national level where all the cities are able to exchange their information, exchange their experiences and learn from each other instead of everybody innovating and everybody trying to do the ways differently. But so there are some good examples, like especially in the ICT, people are able to learn and do it faster and quicker. So that is one thing. And as we all know that most of the smart cities project has to be retrofitting and redevelopment. So land is something which most of these cities are struggling, because the projects which have been identified in the beginning, of course, some of the projects they have seen what is the land title of that particular project, and in some cases the particular stakeholder or particular department has at that stage said that this will be available, but now especially the land titling and land transfer, because most of the cases there was an ambiguity also that this particular land belongs to which department or which entity. So that is something which we are finding it difficult, and some of the projects we are not able to actually implement because there is not the correct transfer which is happening in terms of implementation of these projects. And one good thing which you can see in all the smart cities have actually taken a very good component of the heritage and the cultural and social aspect of that particular city, so that they can bring in more tourists and they can also build up the entire character of that particular city. But when we are doing these kind of projects, it's very important that we understand that these projects cannot be implemented like in a very, very fast manner. It has to be a very, very tedious process. Like, I'll give you an example. We are working in Ujjain, which is a Mahakal area project, Mridha project, which we call. It's a very, very big project. Over there are a lot of stakeholders. We have, in fact, consulted the pundits and the pujaris, the shopkeepers, the industry, the tourists, and the police, and all the department, all the stakeholders. And it has taken us 2 years and 5 revisions to prepare and reach an agreement of that particular plan. So now we are implementing it, and in fact today also I will not say that we can freeze that plan. While we go along, we'll have to learn, we'll have to see that how do we really keep all the stakeholders involved and participate, and we can implement it only then. And so that is what I am saying in terms of the implementation going forward. That is most important, is that we see that we are actually doing the inward development. We are actually doing the densification, and we are creating more spaces within the cities. These smart cities are never, especially that is why most of the projects are not greenfield, most of the projects are retrofitting and the redevelopment. So it's very important that we look at how do we really create more spaces, more public spaces, more place for the people to go and enjoy the city. Because nowadays more and more people are actually residing there in their homes only, and we are not really able to create that public space which everybody can use. So that is what we need to do. I'll give another example. We are doing Ernakulam market project in Kochi. So again, in that project, we have involved all the stakeholders and kind of coming up with a very good market development, which will be catering of all the requirements. But most important, I would say that it's also important that we look at the climate resilience part when we are doing the planning, especially when now we see more and more hazards and more natural hazards coming. You have seen the example of Kerala. If you don't do a good planning and good urban resilient planning and don't take care of the natural resources which we have, and so otherwise we can see all these disasters happening. So it's very important that we look at the climate resilience part, especially in the coastal areas and these kind of cities which we have. So that's very important, and we can bring in very good green infrastructure components. How do you develop the infrastructure planning with involvement of the green planning aspects? These are the few things which I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anil Bansal. Let's move on to the next panelist. We have Mr. Amit Khanna. He's the founder and design principal in Amit Khanna Design Associates, AKDA. He has done his architecture at the School of Planning and Architecture way back in the year 2002. So more than 15 years of work experience on a wide variety of projects. And therefore, we are very keen to listen to you, and I am told that you also have a presentation to make. So if you can be brief and quick and short and sweet, you have to wind up in 5 minutes. So over to you.
So I'm going to be very brief, and I'm going to take you through what I think is a macro problem, right? There's a lot of intelligence in this room, and I want to zoom out and maybe give all of you an overview of what it is that you are trying to solve. And so this picture is a very famous one. I haven't taken it. It describes Bombay, but it could describe most urban settlements where half of us, like Dr. Rao said, don't live in the formal sector. We live in the informal. And what I want to talk about today is our urban life, right? What construes the urban, and what is it that we are trying to address here? This is the nature of the problem. We have the first figure, which is 54%, has been true for about 7 years now. So I suspect it's now crossed that threshold. But the key figure is that most of these people are coming into Indian cities which are not Delhi, Mumbai, Calcutta. They are coming into a variety of urban cities. So the urban size of India is increasing, not necessarily the main cities. This is just to clarify that we are way less urbanized than most people think. So there is a long way to go for Asia to fully urbanize when you compare it with developed countries. And so the problem is only going to increase. As you can see, most of the urbanization that has happened in the last, 50 years has happened in Asia. The percentage of the number of people who live in cities is predominantly in Asia. This is played out by a number of corroborating themes. You have the largest cities clustered around this belt, which is Asia and China, Indonesia, Vietnam. And this is a projection that was done about 10 years ago. If you look at this, 14 out of the 25 megacities are going to be in Asia. 3 out of the top 5 are actually in India, right? And we are told that this is the kind of city we should expect. We'll have walkable streets, great quality of public transport, really nice housing. But this is the cities we actually live in, right? We have traffic problems, we have poor quality housing. A lot of it is informal. But to my mind, this isn't the end of the world. It's the end of an idea. It's the idea that a group of people could sit in a room and decide the future for how the city works. It just isn't true anymore. Cities are complex creatures that defy all sorts of planning. And there are some instances of where planning has been sort of carried out. Dubai is an example, and most of suburban US is where planning has been taken to what logical conclusion. But what is really shaping our cities? Does anybody recognize this picture? This is the Pearl River Delta, and that is what it looks like right now. Cities grow up, they bounce out of the ground when we aren't looking. They just get made, right? And our attempts to control them are sometimes futile. And India's urbanization is not going to pause as we grow forward. This is the comparative urbanization in India. As you can see, the top is dominated by the cities. And the states, like for instance, if you look at Uttar Pradesh, it's very close to the bottom, but this is the largest gathering of humans possibly on earth, right, along the Ganga. And as the India's population is growing, it's massively being added only in urban areas, which means that people are born all over India, but they migrate to cities. The rural population sort of remains constant if you look at this. And we're looking at 10 times the urban growth. Connaught Place 50 years ago was a sleepy shopping center, and now it is this bustling place. So I'm not here to provide a solution, right? But I'll give you a hint that density is important when it comes to cities. When you look at a map of Delhi, and this is the master plan for Delhi to 2021, you find that it's, at least to me, mostly empty. It's given over development to the suburbs. We're spending too much money on people going in and out of the city, and perhaps Delhi needs to be more dense. And I leave you with this figure. This is from the LSE Cities program. This is the estimated reduction in capital requirements in urban infrastructure over the next 15 years if we build compact cities. Thank you.
Thank you, Amit. So we move on now to Mr. Mani M. Mani. He's the founder and chief creative officer of RD&M Architects. I think he's more into retail, design and visual merchandising. So over to Mr. Mani.
Thank you.
Take about 5 minutes.
To make a city smart, the people in the city have to be made very smart. In other words, the city has to empower and then enable the people to become very smart. The word smart is overused ambiguously and abusively, every which way in any possible way. But quality of life is a better expression or better philosophy in the making of smart cities. And we have to make the people very happy and productive first with better equality, freedom, safety, welfare, and well-being. For example, let's go straight to what it means by quality of life. Quality of life is a mindset, a way of life, which is almost ingrained in the way that the people do and whatever they believe in. And this involves having to create an ambience and atmospherics in the urban design that facilitates and empowers the people with the right mix of stimulants, hobbies, opportunities, and vocations and stuff for them to become much smarter, and which automatically makes the city smart. For example, you would have heard of Hygge, which is a way of life in Denmark. So there is Hygge, Lagom, Petter Reddast, Fika, Wabi Sabi, Ikigai, and Kosalik in Norway. These are the countries, and then the expressions that what I mentioned, they all have that one particular way of life and mindset. Because of that, they are all growing very big and faster and then becoming smarter. For example, there is a very small province in Turkey called Sinop. In Sinop, it does not have the kind of infrastructure like Turkey or Ankara, Istanbul or Ankara, but the people are consistently very happy. That's because there is some kind of a sense of belonging, and then the people have the freedom to express who they are and what they are, and then they keep growing around, and then even a girl could wear a miniskirt in the morning, 3 a.m., and she could walk around in Sinop, which is very surprising for a Muslim country. Now, what is the other important aspect is the environment. Your environment determines how happy you are, and then you become successful. Your happiness and contentment leads to progress and success, and it's never the other way around. Stanford's Professor B.J. Fogg, he's fond of saying that if you want to radically change your habit, radically change your behavior, and radically change your progress, you've got to radically change your environment. What does it mean by radically changing the environment? The environment has to be changed by analysis of one particular community's culture, habits, and value perceptions. And accordingly, you've got to create the environment that resonates through culture, activity, and there should be a definitive purpose. Now, the other aspect that I want to clarify here is the beauty of clusters and communities. A cluster is a unique economic model which allows the people to grow much faster exponentially, and it's a geographic concentration of interconnected institutions, business, government bodies, universities, and stuff which goes on in a specific field. For example, in Finland is the only country which takes the input of the respective institution or university at the cabinet level to make a decision on what is necessary for an urban city or any other activity in that country. Now, normally the people, when they live in a cluster, they become far more productive because there is some kind of a camaraderie that is built and they are always hanging around together, and then they like each other, and then they become far more superior in coming out with the right solution. If one particular industry, like in the fashion clusters of Paris and Milan, or the wine cluster in California, when they are working together, there is some kind of a healthy competition, and then they grow much faster and better. For example, Harvard's Michael Porter, not to be confused with Harry Potter, Harvard's Michael Porter argues that intense concentration of the people working and talking about and going about an industry in one particular area, they are going to be far more happier and productive and smarter. India's Osho had said that if we have a community of less than 50,000 people, there will be very less amount of divisive opinions and then riots and stuff which are communal, religious, and other divisive activities. The larger it becomes, then it becomes more complicated. I'll give you an example. There is a republic you would have never heard of. It's called Uzupis. Republic of Uzupis is a little over 1 square kilometer. It's near the capital of Lithuania in Vilnius. And they have only 5,000 people. And then there is, whenever there is equality and equanimity with safety and security, the people become far more happier and productive and smarter. And in that country, they have a national flag or a logo, which is one blue color hand with a big hole on it. That is to say that we are very transparent. We don't take any bribe. You cannot give bribe also because it will go away. And the people, whether it's, even they have an army of 10 people, and they have a navy with 4 boats. And it's a very, very happy people. And when you enter, there is a sculpture of a mermaid made by their local sculptor. And they say that when you go in there and then look at the eyes of the mermaid, you will realize how beautiful life is, and then to go on doing. And now one more thing is, in Spain there is a place called Pontevedra. Pontevedra, everybody wants to retire or resign from their job and go and live there because everybody is happy and they are far more productive and smarter. So the quality of life has to be enhanced by way of doing this. And even in a family, in our family, if we live as a cluster, we are going to be far more productive and more peaceful, harmonious, and happy and smart. But it's a pity that we don't enjoy the benefit of living in a cluster, even in a family. And mind you that I'm not talking about living together and then adjacencies, but in spirit we should be together to grow fast. Now, what does it mean by making the city smart with better quality of people? We have to create a city which gives you a sense of belonging, allowing the people to be themselves and take charge of who they are and what they are, and then an attitude of courage, resilience, grit, tenacity, and that should be brought in the way that the people, they interact and then they grow. When that is done, like in Sweden or Denmark or even off late Estonia with a population of less than 3 million, they are growing much faster and better. That's why I started off using the word of lagom, fikas, Gesultigkeit, Goselik, Wabi-Sabi, and Ikigai. These are all followed by each of these countries that we are consistently finding it far more inventive, innovative, and productive, and then they grow. Thank you very much for choosing to have a higher quality of life and then to become much smarter, happier, and productive. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mani. Mr. Mani is not only a visual merchandising expert, but he's also an accomplished artist. I just read here. So very nice. I think you gave some very interesting and very refreshing perspectives. Happiness is very important. At the end of the day, if you're not happy, then why are you making all these smart cities? So I think it's a very, very important dimensions have been highlighted. So let's move on now to Shiv Marva, who is also an architect, urban planner. He's been working as a land use planner for the WWF, and he's also been involved in designing a large number of schools as part of CSR initiatives and so on. He's an alumni of the School of Planning and Architecture. Over to Shiv.
Good morning. I think the first thing which was discussed in the morning, even before we came for the session, was what is WWF India, which is World Wildlife Fund, doing in the Smart Cities Conclave. And I would just like to put that to rest right now by saying that we are, though our mandate is conservation of biodiversity, ecological systems, while we are doing that, we come across various drivers, various pressures, which impact the basic mandate. These pressures could be from urban planning, from land use, from mining, things like finance, sustainable finance, economics, and so many other areas, which directly or indirectly affect or impact the conservation efforts in India. So as a part of the drivers team, what we look at is how to address these issues a little differently so that we can still achieve development while being more sustainable and while actually making it more ecologically smart development. And that's where the smartness comes into this picture, and that's why we are here. It has been discussed till now, and I think I'll just firm it up. What makes it truly smart? We all know about governance, we all know about technology, we all know about mobility. But I think if you look at this, it also talks about happy people, smart living. When you look at the smart living graphic, culturally vibrant and happy, safe and healthy. Now, where does this come from? By doing, by going more into IT, by getting more into other projects, we still cannot be happy. And how do we do that? And that's the last graphic on this, which talks about smart environment. If your environment is not healthy, we may do whatever, we'll still be unhappy. And how do we do it? So ecological dimension becomes very important even in the smart city concept, and we really can't ignore it. Clean air to breathe, water security, food security, and then resources which are required for productivity. It was talked about, Mr. Bansal talked about disaster resilience, climate regulation, flood prevention, and then that brings us to economy and recreation, things like places where people could go. And ultimately, all this leads to happy citizens. So if we don't have this, we really can't, we can have the state-of-art technology, we can have state-of-art systems on our phone that you can do whatever, but still you'll not be happy. And so unless we have the basics, which is air, water, food, what are we trying to even create? And that's where we come in, because these are direct derivatives of preserving biodiversity, keeping the ecological systems intact. And that's where WWF really wants to play a role, and we can help bring in solutions which are ecologically smart. We are not against development, but yes, we need smart development. And how do we do it is through our theory of change. We look at understanding the interplay between land use and the environment. We're trying to crack this. It's a very difficult area to work in, and we're trying to crack this puzzle that how does land use change and environment really interact with each other. And land use change is which really drives population, which drives density, which drives economy, consumption, and everybody in a city is affected by the impacts of land use change. You cannot escape it. Even if you are somebody on the street, or you have a big house, or you have a big farmhouse, or whatever it may be, you are still impacted, because the moment you step out, you have traffic to deal with. You really don't get clean air. And we all, at least people living in Delhi, all feel that from October to December, it's a worse place to live in. Why? Because we've really cut down on our trees. We have ensured our wetlands are just dwindling, and we keep making on top of it. So unless we start preserving these things, we really cannot move ahead. And that's where land use become important, the land use assignments, the land use which are compatible to this development really need to be looked into. It can't just be left for somebody else to be thinking and market pressures to take over. So we try to understand this interplay, and then we try to provide scientific arguments and alternative support scenarios. So scenario building becomes very important. If not this, then what? And then thirdly is we try to advocate, like what I'm trying to do here is with different people, administration, government, civic bodies, let's do this, so maybe it'll make a difference. Some of the interventions, I'm just taking it from Dr. Rao's opening remarks also, when he said that the efforts and the interventions are actually not just at the city level. It's not just that what we are doing within the city. Of course, you need to take up things within the city which comes under your area development plans as part of smart cities. It's also the efforts that you take at the urban and peri-urban levels. And that is a very critical area of our work, because when the city expands, they are actually, because we are not re-densifying, we are not doing a lot of in-situ development, it's very easy to just go out. The moment you move out, that's where you interact with the forest, you interact with agriculture land, you interact with so many other areas, and it's very easy to just gobble up that land, make some buildings, and keep shifting there. And then we get into another problem of things like cities expanding so much, and then you need smart mobility, and all those kind of things happen. So we have to look at all the three interventions. I think I'm running out of time, otherwise I could have quickly taken you through 2 case studies. I mean, this I think I can still take some time. If you look at this graphic, just absorb this graphic. This is how Coimbatore, which is also a smart city, has grown over the last 25, 30 years. And you see the way it is actually growing more towards the forested areas. The problem there is, people who are familiar with this landscape would know there are a lot of elephants which come into Coimbatore. And there are a lot of instances of human-elephant conflict there. And why does that happen? Because if you see the red dots here, the red dots this was typically an elephant corridor. Traditionally, this has been an elephant corridor. They've been using this to go from south to north. And when a city comes into that space, it's not the elephants which are coming into the city. It's the humans who are going into the elephants' territory. And while we are doing a planning, looking at a smart cities in Coimbatore, if we can do a correct land use planning, we assign certain areas which remain untouched or which can be used for some other compatible land uses rather than making houses or making colleges or whatever is happening there. I think we can really reverse this trend. So we have to live sustainably with the nature in that sense, so that our cities really become truly smart. Okay, this was one of our solutions for that first same city. And we did some land suitability index also. We did all those kind of analyses, and just to figure out the areas which are most suitable and most compatible for the development within the city. Okay, there's one shock and awe graphic I would like to leave you with. This is the Tawang district and how it has been growing. And if it continues to grow like this, this is what is going to happen. So are we really prepared to do this or to reach to this level? So what is needed is actually smart solutions and a good land use planning to contain all these perils of uncontrolled growth. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shiv.
Just a couple of words on that, what he said. So thank you, Shiv. I think just this morning we were discussing on how there has to be integration in the efforts of smart cities as well. So while development is happening, I think conservation also needs to be looked at in parallel. Later in the day, we have sessions related to safety, cybercrime, and all of that. So I just feel, at times we tend to look at all of it in silos. They all need to be looked at in an integrated format. On one side of the city, we are talking about building smart cities, and then we compromise on the natural habitats, like you rightly pointed. So I think it has to be a very integrated effort overall.
Absolutely. And I think that's the message which Shiv Marva very nicely tried to put forward. So thank you, Shiv, for that presentation. We'll now move on to Mr. Fabrice Servant, who is the R&D lead, Customer Projects Director at Dassault Systems. Dassault is basically a collaborative platform which supports planning, engineering, and simulation, project management. Fabrice has been working in different industries. He spent the last 3 years in Singapore, and he was driving the virtual Singapore program, and he has been trying to put in place the Support Singapore Future program. So over to Mr. Fabrice. Do you have a presentation or you'll just be speaking? Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you. So I spent the last 3 years in Singapore driving the Virtual Singapore program, which is supposed to deliver a platform to support projects. Because if you want to become a smart city, at some point it's all about projects. So I'm going to insist more about what is happening when you want to deliver those smart projects. Because the tension that will happen on the city is mostly due to density, is going to happen on the infrastructure. So you will have to keep your infrastructure up to date and to do a lot of projects to maintain that. The thing that is striking me is that in most cities it's complicated to get data. And when you start a project, you really have to struggle a lot to get all the relevant data to make a proper assessment of where you want to go. Then, as my peers have already said, you need to involve a lot of stakeholders. Decisions in cities are political. You really need to look at all the facets of the city. And that's where you need a proper platform to be able to exchange ideas, to be able to communicate, get feedbacks, to make sure that you're not forgetting anyone. Because we were talking during the keynote, we were mentioning about inclusiveness. It's not only about smart people, you have to really take everyone into account. So once you have that, when we were with Singapore, they have started, they have discipline and they put in place a lot of data policies since the 80s. They started with a shared drive and now they have an internal data portal where you have thousands of data sets, up to date, well described, that you can easily access. But now when you have to do smart city projects, you realize that if you have the chance to have a lot of data, you need to make sense of all that. You need to organize those data. And that's what they were looking for. They were looking for a platform to organize that and to build what we call at Dassault system a digital twin. Our background is more in helping car manufacturer and aircraft manufacturer to design those type of complex objects. And in fact, in cities, you need the same. You need to be able to build a digital twin that will help you to assess the situation, find a solution, plan for it, eventually do simulation. Even if it's today in cities, it's still a lot of experts, but not very democratized in the decision process. And you need that. You need a digital twin. And after that, you really need to be able to monitor your project. And that's important because cities, I've noticed that somehow they are delegating the project to a private sector. They're not going to be experts in every infrastructure, of course. But somehow, some cities, you feel that they gave up. They are losing their skills. And it's not because you are delegating to a private party that you need to not have control. So you really need to be able to monitor. And you need to be able to monitor because you want, in fact, to coordinate your project. If not, life of your citizen is going to be very messy because you will have projects everywhere, roadworks everywhere, traffic jam everywhere. So you need to be able to coordinate that at the city level. So I think that's well, I'm going to finish that. The thing that you have also infrastructure project, you have also other things that I've noticed to make a city smart. More and more you can see that you need to be agile. And we are seeing in cities also what we call seasonal programs. So for instance, Paris is being transformed during the summer. They are doing what we call Paris Plage. It's a beach inside Paris. You have also other initiatives like that. And it is going to contribute to the happiness of citizens, of course. And you have also new business models that are happening. For instance, in Paris, we are working with the public lighting utilities. And they are trying to find new ways to use the public lighting infrastructure to define IoT networks, communication networks, new CCTV network. So they are trying to find new business models. And once again, the city needs a place to put everything in control and to be able to monitor all those projects, whether they are big or small. And that's what is important, and that's what also the digital twin will allow you to do, because you will be able to monitor things at a city scale and at the street scale. So that's what you need to look for. I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fabrice. You very concisely spoken about the importance of data, not just for planning, but also for monitoring projects. It is an extremely important area. We'll move now to the next speaker, Mr. Anoj Tevatia. He's a partner from an organization that's called the Design Forum International. Anoj is an architect, BArch Honours from the Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur. And since 2003, he's been working in the Design Forum International. So over to Anoj. You'll take about 5 minutes, please.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I am talking about smart cities, building nation through affordable housing. As I am practicing a lot of affordable architecture, eminent speakers, they have talked about smart cities, what the facade of the smart city or the definition of the smart city and how to create those smart cities. The way I could comprehend about the smart cities is a city which is organized, number one, organized in terms of its traffic management, organized in terms of its approval for various things, organized in terms of all the daily functions of a life. Number two, a city which is efficient. Efficient for time, efficient for energy, efficient for money, efficient in all the functions. When we talk about the growth of anything, when we talk about the smartphone, it has made information transfer very, very efficient. When we are talking about smart city, we are talking about efficiencies. Efficiency in terms of traffic. You have to move from your home to work. How much travel time I spend right now is 1.5 hours. Efficiency we have to create. I have to get my my child into a school admission. How much time, how much money I spend, inefficiencies in all these functions. I have to get my home approved from a sanctioning authority, from a building authority, the time, the money. We are talking about efficiencies to be created to achieve that target, to call something as a smart city. Third parameter for a smart city, I believe, is the safety. Safety on our roads, safety for our homes, safety from theft, safety in terms of health emergencies. I mean, I have seen many times in traffic, ambulance is going a person who must be in a, very critical situation, but very unsafe. I mean, we have to connect all these parameters together, something which has to be safe. Very finer elements, safety for the elderly people. All this we have to address, we have to plug all these things. Fourth element which normally people miss out is the aesthetics. I mean, we have been talking about Singapore, we've been talking about the smart cities. That looks really, really, beautiful. Aesthetics is not just the luxury. Aesthetics is the fundamental need. We are talking about the Swachh Bharat. We're talking about the cleanliness. All this contributes to the aesthetic part of it. And the fifth part is the quality of environment, where we breathe, where we live. All these 5 parameters, maybe something would be more, but I could just comprehend these very quickly. All these are going to address the quality of life of those people who are living in those smart cities. Quality of life for the masses. I'm going to talk about the nation building through affordable housing. Nation building, nation means, nation is made of masses. Where does this masses live? Amit Khanna just gave a presentation in which he talked about, Delhi is having a population of 28 million and Mumbai is about 20 odd million. Where are these 28 million people living in Delhi? I mean, they are not, 28 million people are not living in Greater Kailash or South X or Preet Vihar or Punjabi Bagh. most of the people in that lower strata of the pyramid, where the masses lie, masses are always in the lower part of the economic pyramid, economic strata. They're living in Badarpur. They're living in Azadpur. They're living in Kanpur. If you go there, Khidki extension, you go in the rainy season, if you go there, you won't be able to step out because it's flooded. You open your window, you can shake hand with the neighbor guy. It's so close. The sunlight, it's 5-story tall building. I mean, we are talking about Gurgaon, cyber city, very, very, very smart. I mean, in terms of look and feel, in terms of traffic, in terms of everything. Where are those people living? People who are working during the daytime, I mean, they have their smartphones, iPhones. They're working in the cyber city. Where are they living? Backside of smart city is the U block. 60 square yard plots. Each of the 60 square yard plot, allowed floors, number of floors are 4. You will see 7 floors without lift. And it's an ecosystem, you know, people are living there. People, I mean, graduates from IITs, graduates from professional colleges, they are living there in those slums. We call it, I mean, we cannot create smart cities unless we address the key issue. We've been talking about Mumbai. You imagine Mumbai, you know, Hiranandani Gardens and Lodha Towers and all that. And we have feather in the cap is Dharavi, Asia's biggest, the Shanti, the Jhuggi settlement, the illegal settlement. If we do not address homes for masses, we won't be able to actually address the smart cities, the issue of this. Now, the question is, who will address? Who will come out to create affordable homes? Government. Government have been doing it. DDA, housing boards, they've been making EWS, they've been making LIG, MIG. When you see the quality of those homes, the kind of image which we get, affordable homes, DDA where the plasters are ripping out, where the seepage is there, where the pipes are hanging. I mean, that is what the image of affordable homes is. Actually, government is not the executor. Government is steering at the steering wheel. They have to make the policies where they invite private players who can give the affordable homes. Now, Haryana government has come out with a very beautiful housing policy. They have given certain benefits and they fixed a cap. 4,000 rupees per square feet is the carpet area which you can sell, and you cannot make more than 60 square meter, which means 60 square meter carpet area, 60 square meter carpet area you can buy in 26 lakhs. Gurgaon, where I could not buy a 2 BHK apartment in 75 lakhs or 1 crore, now it's available at 26 lakhs. Right now, that model is very efficient. If you see the examples of Signature Global, Pyramid, Pivotal Homes, they are making 10 affordable housings. And it's not the plasters which is ripping off. If you go and see the structures, entire structure is made of RCC walls, aluminium formwork, which, I mean, when we started using aluminium formwork for our affordable housing, people said, Tatas and Godrej's, they are making luxury homes in this. But actually, right now, by these policies, government has created a practical, workable environment which is profitable for the private players, so that private players, they have started working for their own profits. Through this model, their financial model is realizing that is giving a benefit to them, and a problem of the nation is aligned with their interests, with their profit. They are producing very aesthetic, very pleasant, affordable homes for masses without compromising in the quality. Why? Because it's a competition. 26 lakhs, everything is available. If you are not giving UPVC windows in one of the apartment, the other guy is giving, they'll go there. It's available right now. Aesthetics can be added. We are working on 17 such affordable housings. We added GRC jales with the backlit, with the aluminium windows, with the swimming pool also. And it costed for 800 apartments just 1 crore rupee. Additional for the frills. That is 10,000 rupee per apartment. A guy who can afford 26 lakh can afford additional 10 lakhs. What I'm going to say is that these policies have to be created by the government. There are certain issues in those policies which invites the private players or the builders to participate for their own profit through this entire system, we are resolving a problem of creating the affordable housing, not by letting the Kachi colonies grow up, and during the election time, we get it regularized to get the election votes. Right ways, government create the policies which are practical, implementable, profitable for all the private stakeholders. Private stakeholders come, deliver it, give a solution which has started 5 years back in Haryana. I'm sure in the entire nation it will be done. I want to conclude my things here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Anoj. We now come to the last speaker, Mr. Jamie Webb, who is heading a company called Benoy India. He has an experience of about 20 years working in UK, Asia, and the Middle East. So over to Mr. Benoy, please.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me here. One of the disadvantages of going last is that we're always running behind time, so I've got two things today. I'm going to talk to you about global perspectives on urban transformations and what this could mean for India, and I'm going to try and do it within my 5 minutes, if that's possible. So for me, the first thing about being smart is it has to make life better and it has to improve the situation. So for me, when I was coming to this presentation, I tried to identify 5 challenges that I felt India had to deal with, and how smart cities have to deal, or smart extensions and alterations to cities have to deal with these challenges. So the first one is pollution. 7 out of the top 10 most polluted cities in the world are in India, and if we want to improve the situation and create better cities, we have to deal with that. Congestion and urban mobility. Judging by the time it took me to get here from my hotel today, that's a real challenge. India loses 22 billion a year in traffic jams, and the four major cities in India all have between them an hour and a half per day more in commute time than other cities in Asia, which affects productivity, affects health, and affects quality of life for its citizens. India has challenges around its health and health and well-being, and we're interested in designing healthy cities. India has high suicide rates, and access to healthcare is an issue. New smart cities need to deal with these issues. India has a very young population, an average age of 29. China, the average age is 37, and Japan 48. We have a young demographic here, and in other cities and other countries that we're working in around the world, they also have these challenges, and it's a big opportunity. So understanding the demographic and the future citizens of these cities is really important. The last one I've put down here is ambition. India has a large kind of ecosystem of startups. It has a burgeoning education system, and both of these offer a catalyst for development and for future for future cities. There's a race for talent globally, and so it's really important that our cities are smart and provide a quality of life and attract people not only to live there but to work there and visit. And this is a big issue for most of the cities we're working with around the world. So then I've identified sort of 10 narratives or 10 issues that we're seeing in design and planning around the world. The first of these is the rise of sort of innovation districts and cities, which, building on the kind of smart, the sort of startups and smart tech, we're seeing more and more cities introduce smart innovation districts, which is mixing business, education, places to live, and really these are the seeds of our new cities. And again, these are all about attracting new talent, investment, which is much needed for new cities. We're also seeing a real focus on people, a focus on the next generation. There's been a fascination with the millennial generation, Generation Z. We're now thinking about Generation Alpha, so people born after 2010 and the introduction of the iPad. This is a generation who are technology enabled and will expect everything to be done through technology. Understanding the demographics of your city and your place is really important, and mixing those generations in a multi-generation solution. The third one is around transport and mobility. We are all about creating walkable cities and walkability, reducing pollution, reducing journey times, accidents is incredibly important, and technology enables a lot of that to happen. There's a lot of existing cities around the world now that are banning cars and moving to a completely sort of clean technology, and that's going to accelerate in the next 5 to 10 years. most of those cities are retrofitting infrastructure that we need to be building into our new cities. If I think of London City where I live, we've just spent an inordinate amount of money on new cycleways through the whole city. That needs to be embedded in new cities. Clean energy is important. India has an opportunity to leapfrog a generation with clean technology. And imagine a world with clean technology, clean energy, electric cars. Pollution and the desire to live somewhere will completely change what a city is. We've talked about high-density solutions. Every city we're working with is all about high-density solutions, smaller space, but again, kind of high-quality urban space around it. I'm just thinking of Bosco Verticale in Milan, which is high-density residential solutions, but actually they've greened those towers, and if you took all the greenery off those, all the planting off those towers, it covers 20,000 square meters. So that it can be done, and it can be done in a really, really innovative way. Passive technology and resilience is really important to most of our designs. Those first principles are inherent in everything we do. We're designing flexible and adaptable cities, and I think there needs to be a new kind of non-static approach to urban planning. Policy, politics, finance changes, and there's this ever-changing cycle of change in cities that we need to adapt in our models going forward. Technology will be everywhere, is demanded by its citizens. Everything will be done through technology in the future, and the younger generations are demanding that, and so that infrastructure needs to be there. Linked into that is data and information. Quite often on projects, we spend the first months of a project gathering information and data. So understanding your place, your citizens, the climate, and all the information around it is incredibly important in order to make what we call informed data decisions. Most of our design is about curating that data into great places. Lastly, what we're seeing around the smart city world is, yes, smart technology, but smart cities need to have a soul. They need to be a place. And there is a real return to people and nature, and making people's lives better. And I think it's embedded and it's inherent in everything we do, that we're designing places that look after our people and our citizens.
Thank you, Mr. Jamie Webb. I'll do a very quick wrap up. We are almost running out of time, so and then we can also have a couple of questions from the audience. We first had Mr. Anil Bansal from IPE Global. He looked at a series of initiatives that are happening in various cities. He talked about heritage, he talks about improvement of nalas, he talked about lake revitalization, some very important, and he also talked about the information that's currently available. We are talking about need for data, so information dashboards being created in the command and control centers and so on. So he gave an overall perspective of what's happening in various smart cities in the country. Then we had Mr. Amit Khanna from AKDA. He presented a lot of statistics, and then he looked at the Asian urban wave that's happening currently, made an argument for compact cities. Then we had Mr. Mani from Bangalore, focused more on the quality of life, the way of life and the mindset. Happiness and contentment are extremely important. And how do we bring about radical changes, and how can people start living in clusters and communities, and how we can address this kind of a requirement. I think some very fundamental points he has brought out. Then we had Shiv Marva, who talked on the very important interaction or the interface between land use and environment, and it's not just about the human beings, but also the other beings who are a part of this planet Earth that we need to look at. Then we had Mr. Fabrice Servant, who again talked about the importance of data. You need a lot of data, not just for understanding the city and for planning the city, but also to monitor the city in future. Where is the city going, and what is it that I need to set right? So it's important that you have these systems in place. And then we had Mr. Anoj Tevatia, who talked about the other half, the unattended half, the underbelly of the city, the backside of the city. He talked about the quality of life for the masses. More than 50% of our cities are living in very, very inefficient environments. So they're extremely important, unaddressed. And then finally we had Mr. Jamie Webb, who talked about the 5 important challenges as he sees in the smart cities: pollution, congestion of mobility, health, population and ambition. And he also said about the all-pervasiveness of technology. So I think we've covered a vast canvas of important areas related to smart cities. So I think it was a wonderful set of speakers that we've had this morning. Now we can have about 3 questions, if I may be permitted by the, only 3 questions. So can someone give the mic, please?
Hello,
Please
thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So this is Abhay Pudar from Shubhashi project. We are doing electrical automation in power utilities primarily. Sir, my question across the board is regarding communication protocols. Like what we have seen in our industry is like there are 3 players. Like for electricity meters, there is one who are making the communication devices. Second is the software part where the IT companies come in. Third is the OEM, the meter manufacturers. So it looks like everyone is working in silos. When we are saying of smart cities, suppose if I am the user and that I am the municipality body, there are different core requirements. One is the transport segment. We will be requiring like sensors for traffic management. Second is, say, the water management. In that, water meters, again, the technology, the devices, the communications, these needs to be standardized. If I am the UD department, if I have got 5 municipalities under me, and each municipality will having...
What is the question?
So the question is standardization of communication protocols. Like everything is being worked in different silos. If water management needs to be done, and if say municipality ABC is having their own fund, ultimately if there are different technology which has been adopted by other entities, how that will be integrated in one given server. So standardization of communication, where do we see if that is coming from the...
Okay, thank you. I think it's a very, very long question, but a very short answer. Who's going to give that?
Just a short answer. There are standards today. It's not the issue. The issue is where do you put everything and who is going to drive that. Today, cities are not driving that yet. They rely on private sector to do it. So obviously, if you're part of an electricity company, you are doing it for this part of the utilities. You're not doing it for water. So that's where the cities, they need to have somewhere a platform to manage all that.
See, that's a good question, and I'll add a couple of comments on that. Even though it was a long question, I'll give you a short answer we can discuss later. See, integration in any sector is poised to happen sooner or later, right? Because you look at any sector, that has developed well in the past. Initially, it was all fragmented, and eventually it integrated. But integration, I see it happening more from a private entity, while it has to be pushed from a government, and eventually when a private entity achieves it, the public entities are going to embrace it, because that's going to be an easy thing for them as well. Instead of dealing with 10 different entities which are not talking to each other, they'll rather go for one process or one system which talks to each other and it's seamless.
Thank you.
Sir, I have just one question. We are talking about the smart cities and all, the jungle of concrete and all. What we are thinking for the drinking water facility, as well as sanitation, and a basic problem that is dog littering zone. What you guys are thinking for that? I just want the input for this, nothing else. Dog littering zone is a very important, because everyone is talking about Swachh Bharat Abhiyan and all these things. But, in the society, everyone taking their dogs, going in the park, the public park, and they are doing there. Like, it's a same for us. So what you guys will do for that, as well as the drinking water facility? Again, it's a very challenging task for the smart city. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Does anyone want to take this question? Okay, so I'll answer your question. What is happening to drinking water supply? Let me tell you, my dear friend, we have approximately 8,000 urban areas in this country. 30% of this country is urban, 70% still lives in the rural areas. Out of 8,000 urban areas, we are looking at smart cities, only a handful, 100 of those. Having said that, when you look at the few thousands of projects that have been put in place in the smart cities. Some of these are area-based projects addressing requirements of a particular area, and some others are pan-city projects addressing the requirements of the entire city. Essentially, in terms of water supply, there's a huge infrastructure that needs to be laid out, and there are thousands of projects where new technologies are coming in for water treatment plants and so on and so forth, and these are all being implemented. Water metering is being implemented. But yes, there is still a very, very long way to go. So that's the short answer for this question. Yeah, you would like to add?
And in fact, the drinking water is being catered through the Amrut scheme. There is a separate scheme, not under the smart cities we are able to handle much of the drinking water problem. Of course, some ICT component and some initiatives within the area-based development, that particular area, there are some projects that also is being done through convergence through the Amrut scheme. So there is a separate scheme where 500 cities are being handled. And there are a lot of other initiatives also which all the state governments through the funding of ADB, World Bank, JICA. So all those initiatives are also happening in terms of drinking water.
Third question, last question. हाँ जी बताइए, हिंदी में बताइए. माइक दीजिए उनको. माइक में बोलिए, सबको सुनाई देना चाहिए.
भारतीय महिलाएं अपने घरों का 98% महिलाएं अपने घरों का कूड़ा नाली में और रास्ते में डाल देती हैं. इसका क्या उपाय है इसको रोकने का?
उसको रोकने के लिए हमें सबको बताना चाहिए. आप बैठ जाइए. आपका शुभ नाम बताइए. हाँ जी बताइए.
सर, आप बाजारों में जाएंगे संपूर्ण राष्ट्र के अंदर, भारत के अंदर, किसी भी शहर में दुकानदार जाएंगे, दुकानदार भी अपने दुकानों का कूड़ा रास्ते में डाल देते हैं, नाली में डाल देते हैं. उनको कैसे रोकने के क्या क्या उपाय हैं आपके पास? स्वच्छ भारत अभियान के पश्चात भी ऐसा हो रहा है.
आपका शुभ नाम बताइए.
सर, बसंत कुमार, मैं व्यापार समाचार में काम करता हूँ. व्यापार समाचार संदेश फोटोग्राफर.
बहुत अच्छा है, आप बैठ जाइए. ऐसा है, हमारा भारत देश बहुत बड़ा है और बहुत महान भी है, और जो भी योजनाएं हमारे भारत देश में सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट, लोकल गवर्नमेंट जो इम्प्लीमेंट कर रहे हैं, इसमें बहुत सारे योजनाएं हैं. स्वच्छ भारत अभियान के अंदर टॉयलेट्स बना रहे हैं, लेकिन टॉयलेट बनाने से काम नहीं चलेगा. टॉयलेट में पानी भी आना चाहिए. पानी आने से भी काम नहीं चलेगा, क्योंकि लोगों को बताना चाहिए कि भाई टॉयलेट क्यों यूज़ करना चाहिए, खुले में शौच क्यों नहीं करना चाहिए. तो उसके लिए बहुत सारे प्रोग्राम्स चल रहे हैं. एजुकेशन करना चाहिए, लोगों को समझाना चाहिए कि भैया आपको टॉयलेट में क्यों जाना चाहिए और वगैरह. तो इसके लिए पूरा देश में एक बहुत बड़ा ये प्रोग्राम चल रहा है, और इसमें बहुत सारे लोग जुड़े हुए हैं. और ये बदलाव जो है एक दिन में नहीं आएगा, एक महीने में नहीं आएगा, ये सालों साल लगेंगे. और इसमें बहुत प्रयास चल रहा है और आगे भी चलता रहेगा. और आपको दुख की कोई बात नहीं है इसमें. हमारा देश आगे बढ़ रहा है, तो इसलिए आप खुश रहिए. अभी समय लगेगा इसमें, क्योंकि इतना बड़ा देश है और 70% अभी भी गांव में रहते हैं. तो उनको समझाना चाहिए, उनको बताना चाहिए. तो ये सब प्रयास चल रहा है. तो आपको थोड़ा पेशेंट रहना पड़ेगा, वेट करना पड़ेगा. बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, इसमें हम सब भी जिम्मेदार हैं. हमें भी बताना चाहिए. हर चीज़ आप, सरकार क्या होता है, बाय द पीपल, ऑफ द पीपल, फॉर द पीपल. तो हम भी सरकार हैं, हम भी सरकार का एक हिस्सा है. तो हमें भी सबको बताना चाहिए. तो अगर हम सब लोग ऐसा करेंगे तो मेरे ख्याल में देश आगे बढ़ जाएगा. तो थैंक यू वेरी मच लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन. वी हैव बीन टॉकिंग इन इंग्लिश right from the beginning, but I would like to thank the gentleman for starting the dialogue in Hindi. तो हिंदी से हम समाप्त करेंगे. बहुत अच्छा है. Thank you so much. And over to the organizers.
Thank you so much. Before we end this session, I would like to request a chairperson, Dr. P.S.N. Rao, Director, School of Planning and Architecture, to give away mementos to our speakers. We will start with Mr. K. Suresh Babu. Mr. Anil Kumar Bansal. Mr. Amit Khanna. Mr. Mani M. Mani. Mr. Shiv Marva. Mr. Fabrice Servant, Mr. Anoj Tevatia, Mr. Jamie Webb, our moderator, Mr. Ashish Sachdeva, Mr. Ashish Sachdeva, and now I would request our moderator, Mr. Sachdeva, to give a memento to our chairperson, Mr. Dr. P.S. Rao, Director, School of Planning and Architecture. Thank you so much, sir.